don't know about you guys, but I kind of miss singing hymns at mass. Hey everybody, Jason, Stephanie, Andrea, Ian, and Carlos all here. We're doing something that I had sort of planned for the summer, and now that the like May and the summer, is still sort of up in the air. I thought, what a better time than to do this now? Because to be honest with you all, I miss these people probably about as much as you guys do.
No.
And so I thought, what a better time for me to at least see some of my friends and then to talk about something that is important to all of them. I had planned to have my wife in on this discussion, but she is uh, currently on, she has to work. She has an important job, and so she's off getting that done. But the question here I want to ask you guys, the overarching question, sort of so to speak, is how does music impact your faith? Because all four of you are pretty heavily involved in music, whether it's here at the parish or somewhere else. Music is a bit of how you guys live out your faith and how you participate in mass and how you participate in different forms of prayer. So um, let's just go around. We'll let the ladies go first, and just go around. And if you guys want to, just what is your sort of music, your history with music? So Andrea, why don't you go ahead and start? You don't want to? Okay, Steph, you go ahead. We'll let Andrea skip and come back.
Then you can go.
Okay.
I was hoping you'd go first, Andrea. If you really don't want to, I will.
I have no history in music, so
Okay.
someone other than me has to go first.
Okay, so the question was, what do we do in music and how it impacts us? Is that what?
Like, what's your history with music? Like, what do you do in terms of like your musical talents? How long have you been doing it? That sort of thing.
Okay, mostly play flute at mass. I started playing at mass when I was 14, and I am going to be 44 this summer, so that's almost 30 years doing music at liturgy. Yeah, it's been part of my life more than it hasn't been part of my life, so I quite honestly can't even remember what my life was like before music. I sing a little bit as well. I love to sing in a choir. I'll do that. I do a little bit of music organizing sometimes. I'm music assistant for the Christ Our Life conference. That's a pretty incredible thing, putting together a 200-piece choir and 60-person orchestra. That's a pretty amazing venture. But yeah, my main role is flute, and I've done it since I was 14.
That's incredible. That wow in the middle of all that was for the 30 years, not the 44. So
I know. Hopefully I don't look 44. So I'm hoping that you guys are all surprised to hear that I'm 44.
Yeah, that's definitely a bit of a surprise, but thank you so much for sharing that. Andrea, you want to go next?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, the first time I joined choir was the English mass my senior year, so 2016, and then college, and then I came back 2018, and that's when I joined the Hispanic choir, Dioses Amor, but due to like some problems, I'm not in choir right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I enjoy it a lot though. Really helped me.
All right,
So your
Carlos.
choir?
So what?
Yeah. I said I was in that choir for like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carlos.
All right, well, I want to start off by saying that I've been having music kind of like in my bloodline, like ever since I could remember. At times when I'm playing guitar, my dad walks in my room and he tells me that my grandparents used to have a history of music playing and all that. So I feel like I'm pretty attached to what music is.
Mm-hmm.
I had a sad history on like how I put music in my life. Ever since I started playing and playing guitar, I made the I did a bad decision of being at church and being out there playing too. I didn't know how to balance it right.
Mm.
But I feel like God called me into staying in His lane, into like playing at church only and
Mhm.
keeping it 100 with Him, being a full-time church musician.
Right.
Yeah,
So what instruments do you play?
I play the guitar. I taught myself how to play the bass because one day in a choir I was at, the bass player quit on us, and there was only two guitars. So I told the guys, you know what, I'll try the bass, and I helped them out. Kind of save the
Necessity is
day.
the mother of invention. So,
Yep.
and are you vocally talented as well? Do you sing or?
Yeah, actually,
I mean, I've heard you
I
sing like
was.
when you've been messing around with the kids in the youth room before, but
I've always been embarrassed to sing. I actually never learned how to play guitar and sing at the same time, but necessity pushed me to it again. Nobody wanted to sing in this choir I was at, so I gave it a shot.
there you go. Nobody wanted to sing in the choir.
I mean, they were all scared. They didn't want to give their
Okay, I
voices.
understand that stage fright and stuff like that. Yeah,
So I
I get
started
that.
leading them, and they took it.
I get that. All right, Ian.
So I'm the opposite of Carlos. I have no problem putting myself out there and singing because I'm an attention hog, pure and simple. So my mother tried for many years to turn me into some sort of piano prodigy. I'm sorry to say that did not happen. But I have always been able to sing, and since high school, I've always been part of some sort of choir. When I was growing up at the Basilica, I was part of the Basilica choir there. When I went off to college, I joined one of the choirs at the college church. I was in another choir after that, and now that I've moved back to Des Moines, ever since I came back, I've been singing at the Masses at Christ the King. So I sing, but I also do some of the music planning. And for me, at least, music is like I said, I'm an attention hog. So the doing church music and singing within the context of the liturgy allows me the opportunity to take the spotlight off of myself and direct it towards God, which is why I get I always feel kind of awkward after any mass I'm at when the people like applaud, right? That makes us, it's not about me. It's not the Ian O'Hagan hour. Although there should be one of those. There really should. But
we'll work on that with maybe some of these broadcasts and things.
There we go. Yeah.
We'll put together a little virtual concert or something. I think.
There we go. Yeah.
Sound synced up would be the hard part, but.
Yes. On the other part of that is that when we sing, we're not only just participating in the liturgy, but we also have the opportunity to actually listen to the words that we're singing, and taking that as an opportunity to grow in our understanding of the faith. So many of the church's hymns date back to a time when the majority of society was largely illiterate, but everyone could memorize songs. And so songs have always served as a way for the church to teach every people and every culture the basics of our faith.
It's sort of like the stained glass windows thing, right?
Very much so, yes. Very catechetical.
Great. Well, like I said, I'm not a musician like at all. My wife definitely has that and wants to pass that on to our kids. But I have been in a couple of choirs. I was in the Christ the King choir when I was in middle school, simply because it got me out of math class like a half hour early. And when we lived in Waterloo, my wife was the director of this men's choir, and this was before we had kids. And it was like a bunch of old guys. And she was like, "Well, we want to get new people to join this men's choir, but they all say it's just a bunch of old guys. Can you please join so that there's a young person so that like more young people want to like join and show up. And I was like, sure. And you know what, that was like the most, like practicing with those guys was some of the most fun that I've had getting ready for a liturgy in a long time. You know, i I can't, I mean, I can sort of sing. I wouldn't call myself like more than basically proficient in any stretch of the imagination, but you know, so were most of those guys. So I think it was good for me to sort of put myself out there and do that. You know, I stood next to one guy who hardly knew the words, and then the other guy could hardly know the tune, and that was a bad spot for me to be in because I don't know how to read music, and so I have to listen to the person next to me to be able to follow them. So when one guy doesn't understand the words and one guy doesn't understand the tune, I'm trying to listen to the tune from the guy who understands the tune and drown out the guy who doesn't, and listen to the words from the guy who has got the pronunciation right, and then not listen to the guy who doesn't. And so it was an exercise in being in the moment. But that was kind of, that was my one foray into church music, other than singing in the pews next to people. Um, some of our kids heard me sing on the way up to Steubenville last summer because when there's music on in the car, I tend to sing, and so that was interesting. But um, so so like Ian said, you know, music when you perform at mass, or when we sing from the pews, it's not meant to be a performance, right? You know,
Right.
that's why what's her name? Audrey Assad like stopped doing concerts and things like that. And like
Yeah.
any of Matt Maher's things, like he always prefaces it with like, this isn't a concert, this isn't a show, this is a time for us to get together and to pray, because they want the glory to be on God, not on
Mhm.
for the gifts that he has given them.
Yeah.
How is that how has that impacted the way that you, I'm going to use the word, but like the way you perform, in the sense of the way that you allow yourself to express your talents in your music? Or is that something maybe you haven't thought about before?
Well, I mean, it forces you to be very deliberate. It's not just simply a matter of practicing and going over the hymns and making sure you got the tunes down just right. It's about, you know, when I'm planning out music for a mass, I will go out of my way. I'll bend over backwards to make sure that the hymns reflect, you know, what is being celebrated at that particular liturgy, whether it's
Bro, same.
whether it's a holy day of obligation, or a particular saint's feast day, or a Marian feast day, or, you know, if it's a regular Sunday mass, just drawing as much as I can from the daily readings and finding hymns that reflect that, so that, whereas, you know, so because for me there's a discontinuity if 1 minute we're talking about you know, how to act justly and righteously towards our fellow humans, and then the next thing we're doing is we're doing a hymn about how much God loves us despite how sinful we are. There's not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's that lack of cohesion.
Mhm.
And so by keeping everyone's mind focused on what the Lord is telling us in the liturgy of the Word, I find that helps other people, but also it helps me focus more on what God is asking me to meditate upon that particular day.
Well, I'm not sure if I understood you right, Jason, but I would like to say that when I go and play at a mass, I like to take it as my time being given to God for what He gives me, for all the time He lets me live. You know,
Mhm.
we got 24 hours of our day, right? And we take most of them and leave like 3 to God at times, and that's how everybody should do it. You know, those 3 hours that I mentioned, they should go for God. You know,
Mhm.
and if you have more time, then you give them more. You know,
Mhm.
um, I like to take it really, really serious. You know, when it comes to, you know, to playing the liturgy, to going to mass and playing it, and even the practices, I like to take them, you know, serious. I like to have everything on track, and like Ian said, the liturgy must, go against, like, along the lines to what is being said in church, in mass. Personally, I like reading like both, like all three readings before mass, and choosing the right songs. I think of it as like the whole mass, the whole mass music. I like to think of it as a soundtrack for this huge movie.
Yeah.
That is mass.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, like as in Superman, once it starts, you get the Superman theme song.
Mhm.
You get a good like lit entrance song.
Mhm.
That's how I like to look at it.
It's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steph or
Well,
Andrea?
Andrea, did you want to go?
Sure. So I never picked the music. It was mostly Carlos who would pick the music. But before mass, I would just like to pray before mass and make sure I confess before mass too, and be prepared and be serious about mass. Tell the other people like not to talk during mass either, and just to tell everyone to take it serious and listen to the word of God and open their hearts to Him. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, when Darren and I are choosing music for a Saturday night mass, we'll do the same thing. He'll ask if I have any ideas for the music, and we'll both look at the readings and then text suggestions back and forth. And it's really funny because a lot of times he and I will interpret the readings the same way, and our lists that we send each other are a lot of times nearly identical. And so sometimes we'll interpret the readings in a completely different manner, and so one song that we suggest might be different from what the other one suggests, but we kind of work together, figure out where the other person was coming from, and we definitely choose songs based on the readings as well. And then as far as my involvement in music, I'm the opposite of Ian. Said that he's likes the spotlight and likes to perform in front of people. I don't know if many of you know this, and I have a feeling the kids probably don't know it. So you guys are going to learn something completely new about me. As much as I love doing music and as much as I've done it, I get horrible stage fright. Every time I play the flute in front of anybody, it terrifies me. And I have to kind of get myself psyched up. God gave me this beautiful gift, and I can't just use it for my own. And the way I look at enjoyment, I can't just sit.
Mm-hmm.
It's something beautiful that He gave to me, and so it's my responsibility to share that downstairs in my living room and play my flute for me. And if I can use that to help bring other people closer to God, or to use it to honor God for what He gave me, then it's just, I feel like it's a responsibility that I have. Mm-hmm. And so when I get scared about playing in front of people, that's how I think of it. I'm just like, God gave me this. He doesn't want me to hide it. Mm-hmm. And so I have to definitely talk myself into it sometimes. A couple times at Mass, I've gotten so nervous that one time, I think it was at a healing Mass, it was time to start the song, and Jim looked over at me and he said, you can go ahead and start. I said, no, I can't. And Jim's like, no, it's time. That was your cue to start. I'm like, no, seriously, I can't. And I was just having a nervous moment. So I just took a deep breath. I looked up at the altar. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm doing this for you, God. I can do this. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I look at it. I overcome my nervousness by using that gift to honor God.
Mm-hmm. I mean, here's a secret about your youth minister. Like, I get stage fright all the time. Like, I am a horrible, about public speaking stage fright. And that's what I chose to go into as a career. So, it's not out of the ordinary, for things like that. So, kudos to you for fighting through that anxiety, to honor God with your, that doesn't mean that everybody has to follow through with that, but if you've got the ability to do it, it certainly is an incredible thing. Okay, we're at about 20 minutes here, so I'm gonna ask one more. I'm gonna ask this is gonna be a 4-part question, so follow along.
Oh, I love this. This is good.
Okay, I'll see if I can track.
It's okay because two of the questions are the same. It's okay. So the first part is, what is your least favorite hymn that we sing at church? Like, my wife said it would be fun at the church auction that we could like rip a song out of the hymnal. You know, like auction off ripping out of a chosen song out of the hymnal. What song would you choose and why? And then what song is your absolute favorite to either hear at Mass or to be able to perform yourself, and why? I'll start because that'll give you guys some
Okay.
time to think. My
I kind of already know what you're gonna say, man.
my absolute least favorite song to hear at Mass, and I apologize if this song is near and dear to somebody's heart, because I know the second I put it out there that it's going to be near and dear to somebody's heart and someone's going to attack me for it. But my least favorite song to hear at church is a tie between "Go Make a Difference" and "Rain Down." And so if it's either any of you guys' favorite songs, I mean no offense, but I like cringe a little bit on the inside when I hear them. And "Go Make a Difference" is just that I feel like both of them are fairly empty, like in terms of what they're actually saying. And "Go Make a Difference" also seems like really self-centered, and it's also like the tune seems really campy and like it would come out of like an 80s children's cartoon show. Also up there is what I like to call the Misa My Little Pony, and that's like the Mass setting that sounds like the My Little Pony theme. You'll
Yeah.
know it when you hear it now because I said that. And what's that song? I'm gonna hum the tune there, or I'm gonna just say what the tune is. There's a hymn that whenever we sing it at Mass, it sounds like that children's song that "On top of spaghetti, all na 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 na," and I can't not sing the kids song in my head, and so it completely, in that instant, takes me out of participation in the Mass. And then but I think if I had to pick an all-time least favorite or least unfavorite song, even out of all those that I've said, it's any song that sings about where we sing in the place of Jesus. Where like we sing "I" when it would be really easy to just go in and change the text and put Jesus or "you" or "he." Like, because I'm like, I am the bread of life. That's like a really good example. I have a hard time with that song because like I'm not, like, decidedly so, and thank goodness, like, I'm not. And so when I sing that, like, it just takes me out of participation because of the whole time my head is like, but I'm not the bread of life, like, It also doesn't help that I had tons of seminarian friends that would come up with their own parodies of some of these hymns and sing them in place of the actual words during Mass. So like I'd sit next to those guys and like "Go Make a Difference" would come on and they'd be like, "Go make a pizza, we can make a pizza." And now I can't get that out of my head when that song comes on at Mass. It was like the other morning. It was like
Thanks for
before all
ruining
this.
that one for me.
Yeah, sorry, Steph. It was like one of the last school masses before all this started. All the youth ministers were at Christ the King, and Father PJ invited us to come to the school mass. So we did, and that was the closing hymn. And without missing a beat, we all started singing "Go Make a Pizza." It was fantastic. So, okay, my most. All right, on a more serious note, though, my two most favorite hymns to sing at Mass are "Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silence" and "The Servant Song." Both of those songs were actually songs that we used in my wife and I's wedding because they both mean a lot to both of us. You know, obviously, the servant song at a wedding is a good message to sort of end on for couples. But we also had "Let All Mortal Flesh Keep Silence" as like the main communion hymn at our wedding because like that's where the focus and the beauty should be, even in that sacrament that is the joining of these two people in marriage. The focal point is still the Eucharist. It's still where we should keep silent and be focused on God. And so those two songs have a special place, not only in my heart, but they were special to me before we used them in our wedding. So,
Yeah.
all right, Steph, you get to go first this time.
Ooh, okay. You know, that's a tough one. I'm going to start with the song that's my favorite because that one's easier.
Yeah, sure.
I've got a couple of my favorite more traditional song is "Oh God Beyond All Praising."
That's
and
such a good one.
Part of that one, that one's for a couple of reasons. Part of it is because the words are just incredible, and when you think about it, it's just so applicable to what we really need to follow in our lives. And part of the reason that one's special is because it's the opening hymn at the Christ Our Life conference. And the first time I was in the orchestra for the conference, and I see the procession with, you know, all of the priests and the Knights of Columbus, all the clergy, just that opening procession. I actually had to memorize the first couple lines of the music because I was crying so hard I couldn't see my music because I was so overcome with emotion of the beauty of what was happening and what was about to happen. So that one's my favorite older song. My favorite new song in the book is "Pastures of the Lord." We've played it a few times at the 5 o'clock mass. And it's a healing mass. I don't know if we've done it much at morning masses, but it's this is going to sound kind of morbid and dark, but it's a song that I want at my funeral someday, like 50 years down the road. I want it. It's "Lord, now your servant shall go in peace." Salvation. Well, anyway, it's talking about your servant may go in peace. Basically, this person's done a good job and now they can rest. And it's lovely, and it's talking about Jesus as a shepherd, and it's just a gorgeous. The tune, the words are amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of a song that I don't care for. Most of the songs that I don't care for, it's from a musical standpoint, like either the flute part's boring or it reminds me of Muppet Treasure Island. There's well, I guess my least favorite song, and it would be because I always think of Muppet Treasure Island when I hear it, the song "All Good Gifts."
Yes. Okay, that's what it reminds me of. Okay.
And it's a pretty song, and it's fun and bouncy, and but every time I see it, I imagine Tim Curry and the Muppets, and it just ruins it for me. And so I have a hard time taking that song.
I can see playing a flute where that would sort of come off like a sea shanty.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be singing a church song. Sounds like Muppet Treasure Island, but
I said an entire mass setting sounds like My Little Pony. I think you're in the clear.
But it's the Mass of Christ Our Savior is commonly known as the My Little Pony Gloria. It really is. So that's so I guess All Good Gifts would be the one, simply because to me, because of the image it puts in my mind, because of the tune. It just is irreverent to me because it's too much like a secular song.
All right, Ian, we'll have you go next.
Oh boy. Okay. So, well, when I hear "All Good Gifts," I think it was the Stephen Schwartz rendition from Godspell. So,
well, there you go.
I would say I have to agree, Jason. One of my least favorite songs is "I Am the Bread of Life," and not just because of the questionable theology.
Vox Christi.
Yeah. But also because I've just heard it played so slow, so many times. And I will raise you. Oh my gosh! Just take me away already, God.
Where it's a funeral dirge instead of what it's meant to be. Yeah.
My two favorite hymns would have to be "O God Beyond All Praising," just for all the reasons that Stephanie listed. I mean, it sounds like an epic movie soundtrack.
Mhm.
It really does, you know. And so, definitely going to have that played at my wedding, for sure.
I think we did too. I have to dig up the worship guide. So
Then my next one would actually then be "Go Make of All Disciples." Go make of all disciples. It's so very upbeat, and that's a great recessional hymn, especially like during the Ascension Pentecost season, because yes, this is what we're called to do, and we should be upbeat and joyful about it. Go make of all disciples.
fingers crossed if we still have confirmation mass this year. I think that was going to be with the closing song I would request.
Oh,
since you're all my musicians for that anyways, if that's going to happen. However, that remains to be seen, so we'll just see what happens now.
Hopefully.
Hey, Andrea.
I don't have a least favorite song.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to have one.
I don't know. I think because like I haven't like sang in a while, I don't have like a least favorite song.
Yeah.
But my most favorite one in English would be "Lead Me, Lord." I don't know. Or like
That's a good one.
brings happiness to me.
Mm-hmm. What about your most
Because
favorite in Spanish?
It's bilingual. It's Donde hay amor y caridad. So where charity and love abound.
Oh, that's a good
Bilingual?
one. Yeah, that's a good one.
I like
Yeah.
that one. I really like
Mhm.
that one. So those two are my favorite songs.
I don't know if you could call this a song. You guys will have to help me with this because I don't know what it's actually called. So, Carlos and Andrea, I'm going to lean on you guys a little bit for this. It's like that little hymn that sometimes is sung at a Spanish or a bilingual mass immediately following communion.
Pescador de Hombres. Lord, you have come.
I don't know.
Oh, it's
can't even-
I
can't
think
even
that's
think
like
of the tune.
it's the communion, the spiritual communion prayer, something like that. Oh no, that's it's the prayer of Saint Francis that he says after the.
No,
After
it's not
the-
usually that. I've only heard it like when I lived in Texas, they did it every mass after communion, and I hadn't heard it since we moved back to Iowa until we started doing these like live stream bilingual masses. And whenever it's the majority of the masses in Spanish, Father Ronaldo will sing it after communion, and so I'll have to go back and look it up. But that for whatever reason just like tugs on my heartstrings, and I can't put into why. It may be because I have such a close connection with my parish down in Texas and it reminds me of that, but like I don't know. I'll have to look it up and see what it is. If I can figure it out, I'll put it in the description in this video. But
Yeah, let's do.
okay, Carlos, one to you.
Okay, so let me throw out the least favorite out the window first.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't like Amazing Grace. I just don't like it. I heard people sing it at Crazy, and I'm like, no, I don't like it.
That's
Amazing
one song
Grace.
that I feel like it's got to be done like exceptionally well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
like,
because
you gotta
of
give
what
a good rendition of it.
Yeah, because like it's one of those songs that's always like historically done really well, and so if you don't like live up to those standards, like everybody's just kind of like, oh, I was expecting so much more.
Yeah.
So, but I think
Well,
I will respectfully disagree with you, but understand your choice.
yeah, I feel like it's like so overused. Like, I just feel it. But I got a little list of the ones that I like. They're mostly bilingual. I like the one that Andrea mentioned.
Mhm,
I like where love abound, where charity and love abound.
mhm.
That, and then I like Psalm 50. Oh, God created me. And I like Pescador de Hombres, the English version of Pescador de Hombres.
Yeah, I like
I
that
love
too.
it.
I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard that before last year's confirmation mass. When
We
you picked
played
that
it.
out, when you picked it out for that one, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't like open my eyes too.
Oh, I like that, but that just carries a lot of memories with it. And it's good for times when you need to have a song that's really long. Like if you're gonna
Yeah.
do like a Eucharistic procession or something like that, and you need a song that everybody can pick up super easy, it's like that's like the snap pick song for me.
That's used for RCIA, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You never went to Catholic youth camp, so you don't understand. So, okay. Well, thank you guys so much for talking with us here and for having a good time and getting together and talking to you guys about music and your faith. I really appreciate that. We'll have more of these little group chat things to come as we kind of test the waters with how this is going to look. So,
Fantastic.
anything you guys
Can I
want to
say
say before we
something?
close out?
Can I say something to all the kids?
Yeah.
If you guys have any talent, like any musical talents in this case, put them to practice at church. You know, there's no better place to put them at.
Mhm.
You put them out there, you run the risk of falling in a lot of stuff. Honestly, God has everything to offer for you. The world doesn't.
Mhm.
What he said.
Yeah. So yeah, when we get back to normal, whatever that's going to be now, if any of you have got some music talents, or maybe you use this month or 2 months or however long this is going to be to maybe pick up a new instrument or whatever, you know, uh, when we get back to church, you know, it might be kind of cool to maybe put together like a little youth group, music group that can play at masses sometimes. I'm sure the regulars that are on the schedule every single weekend would appreciate a break and would appreciate seeing some of you young people stepping up, you know.
Yeah, for those who need
So,
guitar lessons, there are virtual guitar lessons on the Fender app.
mhm.
They are giving 3 months free. So
Oh, that's cool.
take advantage.
Cool.
Wow.
I noticed a thing called the Great Courses Plus just extended their like 15-day trial to like 90 days
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
Nice.
duration of this. And I know
Take
they have
advantage of
music,
it.
they have music
Yep.
courses on there, whether it's like music theory or music history. If you're into that, like go check that out. I think they have even some. I know they have writing courses and stuff on there, so they've got to have like music practitioner stuff. But they have over 10,000 lessons, so I couldn't peruse it all before we started on this. So yeah, go check some of that out. Maybe even get a little
Yep.
credit for it. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us, and thank you all for tuning in and watching. I know I speak for all of us here when I say that we miss you guys a ton. We can't wait for this to be over and for us to all be back together in our room talking about Jesus and just goofing off and having fun. So thanks for watching. Thanks for us and praying for us. Know that we're thinking about you, praying for you as well. Let us know of any of your prayer intentions. You guys know how to get a hold of all of us. You guys can get a hold of me several different ways, and I can pass it on to any of these guys if you need me to. But just know we're here for you, whatever you guys need. We love you all, and we miss you. We'll see you all very soon. God bless.
God bless, guys. Take care.